The beings around him, 9 shadow wraiths with blades of light and dark, did not exist in the Force. They had no presence, no form. This was impossible. The Force connected all life in the galaxy, but it also surrounded and penetrated the inanimate. Objects, rocks, planets, starships, droids, everything had a presence in the Force. Or rather an absence that could be felt, and felt to such a degree that a Force user could see them and use them. But the Wraiths were nothing. Luke couldn't sense them with the Force. He turned left, then right. Lightsaber swinging up, then down, then out, parrying 3 more blows. But blinded and unable to even sense his opponents, he was unable to attack. He might as well just be swinging randomly at the air around him. Which he did. He opened his eyes, squinting against the flashes of lightning and the searing sweeps of the Wraith blades. His own green lightsaber, the one thing that was familiar, the only color in his nightmare. But that faithful lightsaber could do nothing against the Wraiths. He blocked a blow, his eyes and brain beginning to adjust very slightly to the disorienting world around him, and came in with an attack, high, then low, completely avoiding his opponent's blade. But his lightsaber passed through the Wraith, dragging a wake of ash behind it lit in the glowing green of Luke's laser sword. The Wraith didn't even seem to notice. It brought its blade up and Luke parried again, ducked sideways and parried a blow from his left side, swung the lightsaber to the right to counter another, then carved a series of angled attacks that should have cut the 3 opponents in front of him to ribbons. His blade met no resistance. On the contrary, the Wraith directly in front of him stepped into his attack, apparently unaware or unconcerned as to the position of Luke's blade. Luke didn't stop moving. He dodged the shadow blade of the Wraith even as he passed through the being himself. The cloud of ash and dust thick around his face, coating his skin, his tongue, filling his mouth with the taste of hot metal. Now, behind the group, he turned and pressed a fresh attack to their rear, swinging his lightsaber left and right and left again, blocking the thrust of a shadow blade as one Wraith turned in a whirlwind of spinning black smoke and brought its weapon to bear. Once again, lightsaber met lightsaber, green light met shadow blade, and Luke could feel the jolt through the hilt of his own weapon. Could see the fizz of energy as his blade slid along the length of his enemies, before the Wraith pulled away in one direction and Luke in the other, both then turning to cut in at a sharp angle. Blade met blade again, this time with a bang of spitting plasma as though the Wraiths were toying with him. One moment their weapons real, the next a shadowed imitation of reality. Sensing this change, Luke's next blow was powerful enough to knock the other blade away, and he quickly made his riposte straight through the neck and torso of the apparition. Once again, his blade meant nothing. The shadow form parted like smoke, even as lightning flashed again and the being was as solid as Luke's own body. Luke swung again and again and again, sweeping now with his blade with no particular intention or design except to keep the 9 Wraiths at a distance. His focus now not on the fight, but on figuring a way out. The Wraiths pressed their attack, Luke's blade passing harmlessly through them. As they got closer and closer, they raised their own lightsabers again, acting together in telepathic union, ready to make their final strike. 9 blades against 1. Luke didn't like the odds, but he braced himself nonetheless. The Wraiths attacked, 9 shadow blades held by shadow arms cutting down at speed, and that was when a new light appeared. Not the white flash of lightning, or the Wraith blades as they were lit by the unholy light. Not the green glow of Luke's lightsaber illuminating the ashy ground like a green flashlight. No, this light was pale blue. It shimmered in the air, streaking a little as it swept down, throwing the attackers off in one smooth movement. It was a lightsaber. The blade blue and strong, the hilt was transparent. nothing but a blue glow held in a transparent blue hand. Luke fell backward, onto his elbows, and gasped at the pain in his joints, and also in sheer surprise at the sight before him. Standing between himself and the wraiths was another figure, a man in flowing pale robes, his back to Luke, his head hidden under a voluminous hood. The entire figure glowed like soft electricity, bright in this world of endless night. When the lightning flashed, Luke could see the 9 solid wraiths through the form of the man who stood between them and their quarry. Luke's mind raced as he tried to identify the spirit of the Force who had arrived to protect him. Ben? No, it wasn't Ben, Obi-Wan Kenobi, his old mentor. The robe, the man's form was different, The spectral being lifted his lightsaber, holding it high above his head, the blade parallel to the ground. For the first time, the wraiths seemed to take note of their enemy. They backed away, 9 forms huddling together, blades lowered. They were screaming from their blank bandaged faces, although Luke wasn't sure whether it was a real sound or just an echo inside his head. It was hard to concentrate on what he was seeing, the way the Force reverberated around the figure in blue. His entire vision seemed to buckle around him. The wraiths continued to back away, and then they vanished, their shadow shapes evaporating into dust that spun away on the last eddy of the dying wind. For a moment, all was still. Then the blue figure turned around, his lightsaber extinguished. Luke pushed himself up onto his elbows. He blinked. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. The blue figure lifted his hood back to reveal the strong, sharp face of a young man, his gaze intense beneath a furrowed brow that was bisected by a straight, vertical scar. His thick hair was shoulder length and had a slight wave to it. Anakin Skywalker reached out his hand. Luke took it, and everything went white.